Good morning and welcome to Wednesday, the 16th of June 2021. It's a wet day. It's a wet and rainy morning this morning. How is it at your end? I welcome you to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Finfulu Falodun, and I also say happy Day of the African Child to every African child out there. Your color, your hue doesn't stop you, does not limit you in any way. You can be everything that you set your mind to be, and you can be everything that you want to be. Absolutely be everything you want to be. So this morning we celebrate the African child, and coming right on the heels of the Children's Day. We are celebrating. We are celebrating every child today who identifies and who is a strong African child. Good morning to the show. This is the Good Morning Education Show where we take and we discuss issues in and around education. We usually start off our shows headlines with the headlines from the world of education every morning before we go to our topic of the day. And today we have another topic that another very interesting topic to discuss. But before we go to that, I would like to welcome every one of our tribe members joining us from all around the world. I see Smart Ongara. Good morning this morning, Mr. Smart. It's nice to have you with us. And for everyone else who is joining or who will join or who will watch the replay, good morning to you. We would like for you to like our channel on YouTube, share the link, tell your friends about it, tell everyone you know about it, and let the cheer be spread all around. So we'll be going on to the headlines to the headlines that we have today, and the first headline says Day of the African Child, making Nigeria fit for children. Yes, one of the passions that we have on this show definitely is children, and we really have seen our children in Nigeria subjected to quite a number of issues that they should not be dealing with yet at their age. So making Nigeria fit for children, yes, should be one of the things that our government at the federal, at the state, at the local level should put on the front burner. It should be a priority to ensure that we have a safe environment and a safe system for our children to grow up in. So yes, we're joining the rest of the world, and we're joining the rest of the African community and the African Union to call for the making of a safe environment for our children. Okay, for the next headline, okay, let's go to the next headline. OAU becomes first Nigerian university to distribute electricity. And last week, OAU that's the Obafemi Awolowo University, celebrated its 60th year anniversary of being in existence. And I remember being asked on the show what OAU has contributed to the world. I guess that question came a few days early because at the press conference to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the institution in Ife, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Eyitokwe Ogunbodede, has said that rural electrification agency projects for the supply of electricity to the university is ongoing and it's almost completed. This project is expected to provide and distribute 8.03 megawatts of power. And the university has processed and obtained the license as an electricity distributor from the Transmission Corporation of Nigeria. I guess I'll just leave this at this point and just leave it like that. Let it let it sit. And on a more serious note, other institutions should up their game also. Our relevance to our society, our relevance to the local environment, our host environment, says a whole lot about us, rather than the clamor we have for name change, to be recognized. What we do can actually push us to the front burner. So this morning I say kudos, great Ife. Our next headline: don't patronize visa vendors. U.S. consulate charges Nigerian students. I mean, we have talked a lot about the quest for students to leave the country, and even for generally people to leave the country, but for our constituency, for students to leave the country. And while doing that, while finding that plan B, while being finding what works for us, or finding greener pastures, it's essential that this is done right, that the right channels are followed, and that travel documents are they're gotten through the right channels. And the U.S. Mission Country Consular Coordinator, Ms. Susan Tula, has further reinstated this by advising Nigerian students who intend to study in the U.S. Not to patronize visa vendors or touts. Well, she went on to say that they often charge high fees and provide incorrect or misleading information to applicants. This could land the students in trouble. You find out that you have parted with a lot of money, and yet you are not having the right particulars. It's even good if you don't have the right particulars and denied the opportunity to travel from the country, than to get there and then to get returned home. So I hope our students are listening and reading, and parents also are not falling for the are not falling for the temptation to go to touts or to patronize touts. Inculcate growth mindset in children. School head tells parents. The head of the Green Spring School, the Lekki campus, Mrs. Feyishara Ojugo, has enjoined parents to instill a growth mindset in the children, using what she described as the power of yet. So rather than saying that, rather than shutting down, and for children to shut down when we just tell them no. I mean, when you tell somebody, you tell a child no, it has a final note to it. It has a note of this is closed, and so they don't. Um, the imagination, creativity doesn't kick in to even think of another way or a better way to do it, or another way around it. But when we say, well, you can do it, but not just yet, then that's where we have children questioning a lot and asking, so when can I do it? How can I do it? Do I have to do this first? Do I have to do that first? And their mind is activated to think out of whatever box that it's created for them. They're able to think and that limiting ceiling over them. So yeah, parents, teachers, educators should learn to employ more the power of yet to help our children develop a growth mindset. All right, moving on. Last Gems will boost students' academic records and database if government embraces justice. Okay, so the Lagos State Government Education Management Systems, that's LASGEMS, which was invented by Mr. Bayomi Erobobo, has explained that the impact the system has made over the years in ensuring a comprehensive electronic database for students, administrative, and academic records must embrace and going further to say why the government must embrace justice in the interest of schools and students. Saying students' academic records, many times, sometimes we get cases of missing transcripts. Somebody needs transcripts and very urgent. It needs to be sent to the school, whichever school that they're applying to outside of the country or sometimes even within the country. And we find out that the records are scattered everywhere. I personally know of a case where somebody needed to get his transcript, and it was said that the store where the files were kept was infested with rats and some files were lost, and that was the end of it for those set of students whose files were destroyed by rats. So, having proper academic records and database cannot be overflowed because people's lives depend on these things. And this morning, I really would give kudos to LASGEMS and what they have put in place, and hope that they can get this across and get it to a wider, get it implemented in much more states and in much more schools to ensure the integrity of the of keeping academic records of students. Our next headline: rebranded ASETA targets 3,000 students population growth. The Abia State College of Education Technical The Abia State College of Education Technical in Arochukwu has projected an increased student population to 3,000 rather. There was an upgrade in their infrastructure, they've improved their curriculum, and they say that there is a general better conducive environment for teaching and learning. And for me, this is a huge work done by the Abia State College of Education Technical in Arochukwu, because we've been talking about making, recently there was one of the headlines that talked about the students of what school was that? I can't remember clearly now what school that was, but they were protesting conducive learning environments, and they really had to get out to protest that. So kudos to ASETA, and they should not rest on their oars. This is not enough for them to just feel, oh, okay, yeah, so we've rebranded, we have upgraded our infrastructure, and we're here. We cannot overstress and overemphasize how important it is to have a conducive environment for both teaching and learning. A good teacher makes a good student and eventually makes a good school. Congratulations to ASETA. I'm hoping that other schools see this, and with whatever resources they have, that not being the excuse, whatever resources they have, they're able to also add something to their institution and to their own growth, take it in their hands. Our next headline for this morning: President Buhari urges universities to emphasize on entrepreneurship training. Okay, I kind of have mixed feelings about this. I kind of have mixed feelings about it because first, yeah, good call, good urge, but before this urge is put out, is the environment even conducive for learning at all than to talk of introducing entrepreneurship training? It's students that can be in school, taught by teachers or lecturers that are in school, that we can be introducing something to. When lecturers and non-teaching staff salaries are not paid, when there is student unrest, when the environment is not conducive, students don't have accommodation, they don't even have proper classrooms, or they don't have enough furniture to sit on. There isn't security. Students are afraid for their lives. Parents are not releasing their children to go to school. Calling for entrepreneurship training, though not bad in itself, this is something that we have talked about, we have advocated for on the show, but I would say that it's a total package. So as the president urges the universities on entrepreneurship training, I am urging him to be more proactive with making the, at least with security, first of all. Let's start with that. And then we can go on to make the curriculum and every other thing better. ARC projects, Gombe ARC project, Gombe government vows to partner UNICEF and others on youth empowerment and girl-child education. Yesterday we had the headline, we considered the headline where UNICEF was calling for the unconditional release of of the students kidnapped recently in Niger State. And today we are in the news again. We have UNICEF and the Gombe State government coming together in partnership towards addressing the social and economic challenges bedeviling the states, especially where it affects youth employment and girl-child education. The project is called At Risk Children Project. That's the ARC-P. And it is led by the advisor to the president on social investment. Whatever it is that will make life better for children, yes, 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 and yes again. So I'm hoping to see this. I seem to have a lot of hopes. Yes, I do. But I'm hoping to really see this project take off well and be impactful. Uni Abuja calls for good governance, holds maiden leadership retreat. First off, I would say it's a beautiful thing, and it's worthy of notes. It's a worthy innovation that the university is instituting their leadership retreats. At the foundation of everything that we do as a society is leadership, is good leadership. So if the university is coming together to institute and to launch a leadership retreat, that's awesome. Get there. And I hope this will be extended to all areas and all facets of the university system, not just maybe leaving it at the administrative level, because we need to see that lecturers are providing good leadership to the students, and even amongst the students, they need to be involved in this retreat. Amongst students, we have natural leaders emerge. We have elected leaders being elected into offices, and leadership says a lot. Leadership says a lot to how these things are run. So good governance and leadership are together. If we have these conversations holding, and not just for the conversation to hold or to take place, but for it to be cascaded into every level, and we see examples of it, that will be beautiful. And that's Uni Abuja also showing, to proving the relevance without really having to make noise. Good morning, Ugochi, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Fee. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. How is the weather at your end? Was it a rainy morning also, a wet morning? Or is it a wet morning also?
Mhm. Yes, so was it was.
Okay, you're welcome. Do you have any comment on the Uni Abuja Maiden Leadership Retreat and their call for good governance?
Oh, I think you actually said it all. It's a good one. It's a good call, yes.
All right, thank you. And I think that's the last headline for this morning before we move on to the topic of the day. And our topic today is the enabling environment. The enabling environment. When you see this topic, Coach, what comes to mind? What do you think of? What's an enabling environment and what's the enabling environment?
A conducive environment for children to thrive and also for the teachers to do their work properly of grooming the children. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. For me, I see the enabling environment, and maybe I first of all take away the article and look at enabling environment and say, enabling environment, it's like the soil, preparing the soil for planting and ensuring that everything that the plant needs to grow, everything that the plant needs to germinate is present in the soil. So enough there is enough nutrients in the soil. So I'm making sure that you're not planting on sand, on just plain sand, but something loam soil, maybe add some fertilizer and all of that. That is an enabling environment to me. But then when we now zero this down to the education sector and we say the enabling environment for education, what should the ideal or what should the foundation environment be for education? What are the things that, well, cuts across board, private, public schools, technical colleges, whatever kind of education system it is, the university, what are should I say now, the ingredients that make up the enabling environment?
Okay, so when we talk about an enabling environment, many times we think of just the physical aspect of things, right? But it's not just the physical, it's also the social environment, it's also the emotional environment, because all these things come together towards being an enabling environment for a child and even the teachers to thrive. I want teachers included in this enabling environment thing because many teachers are in toxic work environment and that can affect their work output. So it's great that we have an enabling environment for children, but teachers must not be left behind also. So any school environment that could be classified as enabling should be a safe environment. The physical structures there, it should be safe, it should be friendly, it should be welcoming. It should also it shouldn't be a place that when people think of going there, when the students and teachers think of going there, they first have a mini heart attack before they now begin to comport themselves, to face the reality that they are going to meet there. So yes, for the environment, it's not just about having fine buildings and conducive facilities. They are part of it, but it's not all of it. So even that safe climate, a warm, happy place, a place where you know that if something were to go wrong, there's a particular way things are going to be handled, as opposed to it looking like maybe there is segregation or discrimination, or it's a place where there is bullying. No, it's the physical safety component, emotional safety, the social the social quality also of that environment makes the children and the teachers to thrive.
Great, great. Thank you for that. You have touched on the tangible environment and part of the intangible environment. Okay, so I'm looking at that environment being including all you have said, the physical, the non-physical, and part of it is ensuring that the emotional and psychological health of those involved is taken into consideration, both the instructors and the instructed. Now, looking at, there's a lot of that we say about, oh, the government is not providing an enabling environment for education to thrive. There's a lot laid at the steps and at the door of the government. It's like the failure of education in the country is essentially and primarily the responsibility of the government. Is this true? Is this really true?
Please, could you take that bit again? I lost half of your words.
Okay, is the failure of or the state, the poor state of the education system in the country, is it essentially the responsibility of the government?
No, I think it's both parties, right? Yes, we know that government has its own role to play, but also the school owners, the teachers also have their own role to play. And that's because sometimes if your school has certain facility and it doesn't have, and there's some other things it doesn't have, what can you do as a teacher in that school? Pending when government plays its own part. Are you going to just say, okay, because government did not do it, you will not do anything about it? Or are you going to try to improvise because you know that what is really important is the child and you're thinking in the best interest of the child? So, yes, I know that government has a major role to play. I also know that as teachers who work in that environment, school owners, administrators, what takes ownership, relax and say,
Okay, I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you properly anymore, Ugochi. It's first of all breaking, and then now I'm not even hearing you at
can you
all.
hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. From my end, it was showing that your video was flickering. So I'm surprised to see that it was not
Oh,
just connecting at all. I guess it's the rainy
oh.
morning.
We need to be moving away from narratives like that, like because it has rained.
Like,
With other things that
it's
are
crazy.
affected, electricity, connectivity. I mean, okay, so I can hear that you're still talking, but it's coming in beats.
Wow. Okay, so let me
Okay,
try and give it another go.
I can hear
So
you now.
I was saying that it's supposed to be if both parties should work together, even though government is the has primary responsibility. School administrators and teachers should not now relax and say, oh, it's not my business, it's not my jurisdiction. Because if, for example, the government doesn't provide an environment that is enabling in quotes, right? Are you now going to say there is nothing you can do about it and just keep trying to do your work like that? Or as a teacher or an administrator, are you going to try to improvise with what you have just to ensure that you provide something that will be in the best interest of the child? Because at the end of the day, the child is a very important person in the mix. The child is the person that we want to ensure that they live with quality education, they live with good experiences. You see what I mean? So I believe that both parties should work together so that when people take ownership of something, they are more in sync and it helps them to achieve what they are trying to achieve. Over to you, Finn.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Gochi. Let's see. Let's say we want to create an enabling environment or want to create the enabling environment for education to thrive. One of the more common things that we hear is that the cost of education is high. We feel like private schools are milking parents and all of that. But to create an enabling environment for maybe in a local setting, in specific settings, definitely requires some funds, definitely requires some inputs. It won't just happen. So are we saying that we can have, are we saying we should pay the price? Yeah, let me put it that way. Should we be paying the price for the enabling environment, or do we just leave it and feel, okay, so if the government provides it and it's subsidized, or they can even give it to us for free, like many public education systems are, at least for the primary level. At the secondary level is not entirely free. And at the university level, of course, it's not free at all. It could be subsidized. But how do we balance out the aspect of what is needed to create that environment and the price that needs to be paid to make that environment feasible and visible and accessible to all? Um, I believe that we have been joined by Mr. Rotimi Tayo. I believe so. Good morning. Okay, I'm not sure if
Good
he's
morning.
hearing
Good
us
morning.
yet. Oh, okay, yes, he's hearing us. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr.
Okay,
Rotimi.
Good morning.
so Ugochi, would you like to answer that for us, please? How do we balance out the cost? How do we balance out the cost of the enabling environment and what it will cost us, the price that it will cost us to have that environment?
Okay, so government is supposed to invest heavily in education because it is education that at the end of the day is going to drive any economy, right? So other ways that government can ensure that it gets necessary support it needs is also by partnerships with private sector and with non-profit organizations, because some of these private sector organizations, they have CSRs that are aligned or tuned to education, and we have some non-profits who their major the major SDGs they're trying to work on is SDG 4, which is education. And so if government works with these people who are already doing something, it helps to, it supports the work they are doing. And it even makes it more targeted, so that the areas that are not having as much, they can, partnership happens. And then these other sectors of the economy, that's the private sector and the non-profit, are able to support the government in those areas. Then I would say for teachers or private schools too, it's also the same thing. You need partnership, you need support from these organizations that are doing things in this area, because you are the one in the shoe, you are the one in the education space. You know this exact kind of help that meets your needs or that at this point in time. So it's even better when you partner with organizations who are doing work in the area of education. You're able to convey your real needs, and those organizations also try to see how they can meet them based on their own, should I say, their own objectives and goals of running their own organization. So I think that it's one of the ways. There are several ways, but this is one way I really think can help with um funding funding. And then of course positioning for grants and all that is also very helpful. But I really like this one of working with existing organizations who are already doing something in that area, because it makes it more focused, more targeted and all that.
Thank
All right,
you.
let me say something. Hello.
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, so fantastic conversation so far. And Ugochi, well done on your contributions. But it is very important for us to note that when we talk about enabling environment, our disposition must be clear. It's not just what has been handed to us or what has been given to us that we're a recipient of. Enabling environment is also another word for opportunity, which means is what is expected of us as opposed to what is handed over to us. I think that for once, we might need to step outside of our normal, regular education and understanding and take a different look at it because we are not in a normal climate. We are not in a normal society. And we cannot always take the interpretation of the definition of things the way they are because we are not in a normal society. And being not in a normal society is not an insult, neither is it derogatory, it's just the reality on ground. So I feel that when we talk about the enabling environment, I think the first thing we need to look at is the problems. Problems themselves are an enabler. So when you look at education, and I love the way Ugochi said we should not just look at the teaching, I mean the students, let's look at the teachers. Every major player and across the value chain of education, for every problem that exists, that is itself an enabling environment because it is contrast that gives opportunity for you to have what you call showcase. You understand? We tend to feel and stay helpless the more when we do not in any way consider ourselves as having advantages. There are many things that are not working. If I was to ask Ugochi, if I was to ask me, if I was to ask our tribe members, what don't you like about our schools? What don't you like about education? What is the problem? What frustrates you about the sector? Those things that government has not done, the things that they're dropping the ball on, those things are really the enabling environment. That's the honest truth. But if we want to stay as recipients of things given to us, we will call them the problem that requires enabling environment. The problem is the first thing that is the enabling environment. That's the actual truth. I might not be sounding the or probably playing the devil's advocate this morning, but that's the honest truth. It's high time we have people like, and think about it to Gochi, and maybe she could also answer. Go to look at some of the things that you came up with, the adventures of Mona, look at the school safety summit, look at the poster packs, I'm sure you remember those early days, and then people started saying, oh, do you have the one for boarding school? Do you have the one? Gochi, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, so all those journey, it is the problem that we had that gave birth to such products. It's the problem that gave you an enabling environment to have a voice and to have a name. The same thing with Fee. Some of the interventions you've done, as someone who's doing things around early years, around childcare, around child development, behavioral management, and some of the things we've done together. The Good Morning Education Show. What made this enabled is the problem of the pandemic. So we must begin to run to problems and not talk against problems. We must begin to embrace problems because problems are really the gold mine for development, especially in education. In fact, what makes education education is the fact that it's problem based. And once it's problem based, then you can now talk about solution. You understand? So when you listen sometimes to the things that we've heard from our federal government, from our presidency, from our ministers, from our commissioners, from our regulators, from our administrators, from parents, and from practitioners like educators, even from students. These things become the gold mine we should explore. Think about what Niger Kids is doing. Every day I'm proud to be associated with Titi and the Niger Kids family. Why? Because they're doing stuff, not because they are having stuff, but they are doing stuff that seemingly we wouldn't have done because we saw these things as problems. And I think it might also be a wake up call for us that maybe we need to start having timeouts, trainings, workshops, master classes that addresses how we can think or that addresses how we should see problems, not necessarily just talk about golden opportunities. And our opportunities most times is how we can escape from problems. Our opportunity is how we can run from problems. But let's talk about opportunities of how we can transform problems, how we can mine problems, how we can galvanize problems. That's the enabling environment. The problem with Nigeria makes Nigeria an enabler. Look at so many things. I'm sorry I'm talking this long, but honestly, I've been privileged to travel to different states in this country. And until I went around, honestly, I would not say that my firm belief in the country was strong. Yes, from time to time, we get deflated by things that happen. But once we understand that the problem really, and we might not get this opportunity again, because people that come to solve it from external point of view, they will chance us in a big way. I see sometimes people that they call consultants, people that are awarded interventions for turnaround projects. Why? They have appetite for profit. We are doing chin solutions. They are doing meat pie solutions, donut solutions. There's a huge infrastructural opportunity for even the one that does not necessarily have to have gray hair, or the one that doesn't necessarily have to have too many degrees to their names. We need to learn how to come back from a place of learned helplessness to a place of activation, to a place of problem focused or problem centeredness, where problem becomes our chewing gum, as it were. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. That was really, really in-depth and robust. And good morning to Mrs. Titi Adeusi. Welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Rotimi on fire. Safety chief. Fee, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, and congratulations on the semi-finalist emergence of Niger kids in the Milk and Pen GSC Education Business Plan competition. We're rooting for you and looking forward to Niger kids clinching that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Okay, so, our conversation is on the enabling environment. Obviously, enabling environment for education. What's your take on this? Let's take your general overview on this.
I liked what Rotimi was saying when he says that we need to have that. There are problems to solve, and let's solve the problems. How can we create that? And I think it's how do we help government create an enabling environment? When it comes to education here in Nigeria, things are tough. I mean, we still talked about a bit of it yesterday. Things are tough. Funding is one of the major challenges of making it enabling. But I think when various people are in their various corners, solving problems, if we can magnify that, then we'll start to see the solutions and see some of the enabling environment emerge. We have currently in the Nigerian education sector people solving various problems. What we need, if you ask me, is to magnify those things that they are doing and let it then be used across the country. And I like what Rotimi said. It's not to bring people from outside. It's really to magnify what the people in here are currently doing. So you have people that are helping to solve, attendance and school management problems. How do we magnify that? How do we make it something that so many more people can use? Instead of government going to try and start creating their own, why not the people that are already in the sector, they have done it for a while? How do you see what they've done and leverage it and magnify it? So I feel that's one of the ways we should go. People are already doing a lot of things. I'm always so excited when I go to social media to read about things that people are doing. I'm like, wow, wow, wow. But they are doing those things, little bits. We need those things magnified. We need those things taken to a larger scale that cuts across the country. Not reinventing the wheel, but rather using the wheel that people already invented and spread it. Whatever it is, whether it's school management system, whether it's educational content, whether it's teacher training, whether it's school safety, whatever it is, whether it's curriculum development, people are already doing this stuff. For me, is how do you bring these people together? How do you magnify it so that it's something that you can then take, you know, to all parts of the country?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think one of the issues we have with creating the enabling environment is this sense of entitlement. We all believe, oh, things should come to us. We're not really out to accept, maybe in private organizations where, yes, the person who is the founder or maybe the head of school or the proprietor or proprietress is out not just to provide service and quality service to people, but also to make profit. So that's where we really see a lot of moving and shifting and groundbreaking going on, just trying to find a way to ensure that things are moving on smoothly and that they're plugging the gaps and the holes that they have. But when it comes to public or government establishments, institutions, then we see so many where there's a problem and it's within the purview or within the capacity of somebody within the system to provide a solution to it. I just leave it and lay back and say, oh, it's the government's responsibility. Why should I do it? I'm not going to be refunded if I spend this money to make sure this thing is done. Or sometimes it doesn't even involve money. It's just initiative. It's just being just being selfless, maybe just a little bit of our time to say, oh, I'm going to put this in place. If we institute this kind of process, it will make things work better. But it's just that sense of, look, well, it should be, my personal opinion though, it should be what this is the responsibility of the government. That's what they have the money for. That's what they're in existence for. And so we sit back and we sit away, and gradually the environment is falling and is fading away, and we just continue to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, so yeah, I'm thinking we should probably just take a little break here to bring up the education grant of the day before we round off the show this morning. And the grant has been posted. The education grant of the day is the United States Agency for International Development Opportunities to Learn. So the USAID OTL, the deadline is July 5, 2021. Well, if we think that that's a long time away, before we know it, the deadline has crept up. So we want to start to put in applications for that grant. And the fields of work that can apply for this are career or college preparation, education, higher education, college success, persistent workforce preparation, and job readiness, vocational and trade education. Application type. I'm getting a feedback. I don't know from where I'm getting a feedback. Okay. Application type. Organizations can apply, individuals can apply, and the funding is meant for projects or programs, education or outreach, and then the location of projects. Nigeria matches the location of projects, so we can apply for these grants from Nigeria as individuals, as organizations. We can apply and we can have collaborations together to apply for these grants. The grant amount is 25,000 US dollars, and the website to apply for the grant is right here on our screen. So we encourage that individuals, organizations out there who fall within the scope of the field of
See, are you still there? Rotimi, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I just wanted to ensure.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I think I was out for a while.
I think his OAU colleagues are calling her.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, back to our discussion on the show this morning. Yeah, it's the International Day of the African Child, and I would like for us to round off on that note and say, and what would our last call be to those who can create, or what would our last call be to ensuring that we have the enabling environment for the African child to thrive?
Hello, Finn, are you there?
Wow. Okay. So Rotimi, do you want to start with parting shots talking about is safety chick on safety chick? Can you hear us?
Yes, is here.
Yes, I can
She's
hear.
Okay. Let's safety chick. The African child. Today is the day of the African child. What are your parting? What are your parting shots as we
Okay,
as we
parting shots for
celebrate?
me would be that we should create an enabling environment for the child, bearing in mind that enabling environment is not just a physical aspect of things, it's also social, it's also emotional, so that we're able to produce well-rounded children who are not who do not come leave education with negative effects from the environment that they experienced in school. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I would say, give the African child the gift of education, of quality education, so that there's light at the end of this tunnel. That's really, really, hard, hard cry. Give African child quality education. Every African child, it's their right, and not just education that about memorizing things, but education that ensures they have the skills to succeed in the future. Thank you. Rotimi, over to you, and then maybe we'll end with you. Now that Finn is back.
All right. Thank you very much. I also feel that we need to begin to build bridges because we might not be able to wait for people's intention or integrity, especially from the people who call powers that be. We need to embrace the problems. We need to mind the problems. We need to articulate how we can begin to create the possibilities for the African child. It's enough stigma to always show the doom and the gloom of an African child. It's time that we turn the lights on, like you said. If possible, instead of just putting lights in the tunnel, let's bring out that tunnel, put it on the bridge, and let them have the sunlight available to them to thrive.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, I would align with that. It's time we leveled the playing ground for the African child and for the African child to see themselves as a contributing part of the society, not just see themselves and the first thing they think of is the color of their skin. When the environment is there and they have that can-do spirit, it's right there. They feel no, nothing stops me. It's not about my height, it's not about my color, it's not about whether my hair is curly or coily or long, it's not about the color of my eyes, it's about the content of my brain and what my mind can produce. Then we would have enabled the African child to go on to take the world and to be the best that they can be. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Thank you, the Safety Chick Ugochi. Thank you, Mrs. Titi Adeosi of Niger Kids. Thank you, Mr. Timi Tayo, and thank you to every one of our tribe members who have joined us this morning. Thank you, Bernard Madraguna. Thank you, Smart Ogara. Thank you, every other person who is right there. You're watching, you haven't dropped a comment. We'd like to hear from you sometime. Please don't be silent all the time. Thank you for being here, and we wish you a beautiful day, but we're not going to go away without giving you our normal pattern shot. And together, we are saying to our tribe this morning, let's take it away, Tim.
It's always
A great morning
on the Good
Morning Education Show.
Show.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Dulce and Titi.
Bye.
Bye,
And OAU. Bye-bye.
Thank you.